Hey, I've got some great information to share with you guys today. I've got one of my top loan officers in my branch and in our entire region, Marcell. Marcell's going to talk about a loan program today that needs a lot more attention than it's getting right now. I'm okay that a lot more loan officers aren't talking about this because we need more experts in this field versus information that isn't necessarily true. A lot of stuff you see on social media is for clicks and likes. But Marcell is a true expert in this, I would say, new loan program for a specific group of home buyers. And so, Marcell, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me, as always.
I love getting to chat with you about it. And it's been impressive to see what you've done with this loan program and what you've done to help people. So let's talk about the Covenant loan program, home loan program here in Washington State. Now, I'm sure it's available in other states, but specifically we're going to talk about the Washington State Covenant home loan program. So let's talk about real quickly, like what the loan program is, who it's for, how do you qualify for it? Because there's a lot of, I don't like using, and I think you cannot use this word, but free money. There's a lot of very, 0% interest money available. And with some of the changes that are coming down here in the near future, I think you could probably use the word free money, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Let's talk about the Covenant program. What is it? Who is it for?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan, again, for having me on. So the Covenant program, put simply, is essentially a program that was designed to really help address the housing disparity within certain groups of people. You know, the Washington State Housing Finance Commission has sponsored this program. They've done a very exhaustive study and up to, I think, 197 pages of data, right? So there was clearly a need in Washington State to help address this gap in wealth, which I think you and I can agree with really starts with home ownership. And this is a program they set forth to really help address that. So the program essentially is this. It's up to 20% or $150,000 towards the purchase of a home. It could be a conventional, it could be an FHA loan program. So they're kind of flexible on options, which helps a ton, right? If your FICO's not quite the best, there's still a means to getting you into a home. That money will cover your down payment. It will also cover closing costs as well. So in effect, you could be coming in with little to no cash out of pocket.
Like a $500,000 purchase, for example, that's your 20% down.
Right.
That's your 20% down plus your closing costs. So like you just said, you're coming in with ultimately zero cash out of pocket. Now, okay, so let's say this scenario, we leveraged the $125,000 down payment assistance. Is that like the Washington State Housing Finance Commission existing program where it is tied to the deed, it's tied to the loan, right? At 0% interest. So you don't have a payment on that. You just have to pay that back when you sell the home. Does this program operate the same way?
Yes and no, right? So as you gave them a teaser at the beginning, with two big changes that are coming down the pipe. So currently, yes, right? It's structured no different than a traditional down payment assistance program, whereas the second loan, which would be that Covenant giving you the down payment and closing costs, will actually sit as a second loan but does not accrue interest. So let's take DK's example for instance. Let's say we did get $120,000 from the state of Washington to be used towards our purchase and our closing costs. Let's say we lived in the home for 5 years, right? Very common, most first-time home buyers, 5 to 7 years, which the program is designed for first-time home buyers as well. If we sold in that 5 to 7 year time frame, that $120,000 would still be $120,000. You'd pay a small fee, usually a few $100s, to have what is called a satisfaction of deed, which means you're just simply paying off the mortgage and it's recorded with the county, but that's it. So $120,000, zero interest for as long as you live in the home. I really don't know what else to say.
That's pretty.
I'm kind of grasping at straws here, DK. I don't really know what else to say.
It's incredible. It's an incredible, and one opportunity, but kind of like a gift opportunity for someone that otherwise wouldn't be able to get into a home. And you got to think about this. Like the existing down payment assistance program, you're typically leveraging it with an FHA loan. So the existing down payment assistance program through the state is going to give you up to 4%, right? So you're going to cover your FHA 3.5% down payment and a little bit of the closing costs. In this particular case, it's enough to actually put 20% down on a home, no PMI.
Yeah.
And what that does, here's what a lot of people are missing with that. When you take and you buy a $500,000 house, for example, and you put that $100,000 down compared to the other one, your mortgage payment is way lower.
Oh,
so now these home buyers can now afford, it's like you said, it's encouraging home ownership in certain AMI or area median income, areas. So love it. All right. So now we we'll come full circle too on like, actually, how do you qualify for this stuff like that? Because I know you're probably listening to this going, okay, what's the catch? Here's one of the catches. So not everyone qualifies for this. So how do you qualify for the Covenant Home Loan Program?
There's several facets to it, right? So the first one, I like to break them up just to make them easy. And we talked about one earlier today, which was being a first-time home buyer, being a Washington State resident. The first-time home buyer piece is actually, there's even a bit of a caveat to that as well. So technically, in our world, DK, you know this, a first-time home buyer is somebody who hasn't owned a home in over 3 years, right? So 3 years removed from the ownership of a home. So for those of us who have not owned a home in 3 years, we are treated as first-time home buyers, right? Then we talk about what I like to say is the genealogy or the ethnicity piece, right? So the groups that do qualify for this program in no particular order are Black, Hispanic, Alaskan Native, Native American, Asian Indian, and I think there's another one that they're currently in process of expanding. The thing about this program, which is so dynamic, is it's constantly being audited in a good way for expansion.
Well, remember at the very beginning, you guys, and Marcell indicated that the state, through extensive research and analysis, identified certain groups that were essentially discriminated against. Was it before? I've read the case study before the 50s, or
so 1968. And the reason why the date is so important. So the fair housing laws, as most of us know, were passed April 11th, 1968. So that was actually, by the way, this is a good fact, that was actually a week after Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Wow.
So very significant for that date. And these fair housing legislations were supposed to address a lot of things such as redlining, blockbusting, racist home ownership or home buying practices, right? What we found and what the Housing Finance Commission has really found, to be honest with you, is over the course of the decades that have since marched on, that has not happened, right? And we see that. Dan and I both continue education every year to keep our licenses intact and good standing. And there's very interesting pieces of information that are a part of that training or continuing of education. One is the map from 1920 to 2020 of Seattle. If you look at the racial makeup or the wealth makeup, for lack of a better term, it's largely unchanged in over 100 years.
And in comes this program. So I've had a lot of people, real estate agents, say, hey, why now? Well, that's actually a good thing. It doesn't matter, like, why wasn't it, presented years ago? The fact of the matter is we now have access to this. The state did their, due diligence in regards to this study. Now we're going back. And I love also how you presented this too, because most loan officers and realtors, when they talk about this program, they just talk about ethnicities. Correct. You used a key word, genealogy. That's big for this program.
That's a big one, because I think in our experience, and the team here has been phenomenal. We're Dan used the word expert. I think at this point we are. We've done enough. We've gotten through every possible quirk that we needed to navigate to help get these deals done, but and put people in homes, which is ultimately our goal. But the biggest part is the genealogy piece. That's where people get tripped up. So let me give you a real life example, right? Let's say that you were one of the groups mentioned, but let's say that your parents, which is very common, were actually born and raised here prior to 1968, right? So what we would then need in that scenario is, because you yourself were not born prior to 1968, right, which is a key component, we would need something such as a birth certificate or a draft record if mom or dad was in the military, or if a Native American, even a tribal record, right, would suffice.
Or sadly, a death certificate.
A death certificate would work as well. Something that would indicate, again, two things, right? Both residency and the genealogy piece, which is important.
See, that's one of the bigger myths with this program is well, hey, this sounds great, but I'm 28 and I wasn't alive in 1968 and it wasn't a part of that, discrimination clause, so that doesn't matter. This is previous generations, what they had to go through, what they went through and had to go through here in Washington State. So these are key words. Previous generations of the particular groups that you'd mentioned here in Washington State. Now, if we can prove that or show that, which Marcell just said, it's very simple to do so. And these are some of the things that great loan officers will help walk you through. Right after this loan program came out, I made a video about this and I put it on social media. Boom. Within a week, I had a real estate agent say, hey, I think I got someone that qualifies for this. And so I'm like, let's go. So I pre-approved them for it. We did it.
Yeah.
And we kind of learned as we went along because it was so new. And I will tell you this. Don't try to cut corners or cheat the system.
Yeah.
But the underwriting process through the state of Washington is fairly liberal, lenient in regards to the documentation of that. And so
I think they're keeping an open mind.
Yeah.
Let's just say that, for lack of a better term. And DK said, I mean, initially when the program rolled out, which is almost a couple years ago now, right? It's been in practice for a while, and they've actually expanded it because of the great success that they've had with it. Initially, we were all learning as we went. So I think that goes for not only us, but the Housing Finance Commission, right? Now they've not only expanded in terms of documentation that they'll allow, which is huge because, as most of us know, we don't always have the ability to track down a death certificate, a birth certificate, a marriage certificate, and so on, census data, right? So they've kind of helped us in that regard. And the term I like to use with that is collaborative. Right? It's not as though they're working against us in the way that maybe some other banks would or other organizations. They want people to utilize this program. They want to encourage as many people as possible. And they do not want to be a hindrance to people getting into homes on behalf of this program.
So talked about the amount of money available. We talked about how to qualify for it. It starts with the genealogy and ethnicity. That's kind of like the first domino. Then we go right into the mortgage process, credit score.
If I can have an aside, I want to say something because this is something that I've been seeing a lot of lately. As of late, I should say, and I'm not saying this to ruffle any feathers, but I think it's also important to understand where the money comes from,
right? Because
a lot of people have, for whatever reason, created their own misconception about this. Number one, the money that funds this program is actually funded by the state of Washington. So what I mean by that is, for every real estate transaction, as you know, we are subject to recording fees, right? To record a deed and a mortgage with the county to make it officially yours. So what the Housing Finance Commission has done and has had the ability to do, at the blessing of not only them, but obviously the state legislature, is we've been able to increase recording fees just a tad bit, $100 on average. That has given them an endowment of anywhere from $75 to $100 million. That is what is funding this program. So, and the reason why I say this, Dan, not to kind of go off base, but what I've been seeing in social media and on the news is a lot of, like I said, misconceptions, for lack of a better term, where people think that this money is coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. It is not. 100%. And it's actually continuously being replenished as a result of those recording fees.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the big questions that I get from real estate agents and even in clients is like, okay, well, like the USDA home loan program, would it run out of money or does it need to be refunded every year? Well, yeah, it needs to be refunded, but it's constantly being refunded through our Washington State housing market.
Absolutely.
Cool. So if you think that you qualify for this program, or if you think that you meet some of the criteria, the next step is to have a conversation with a professional like Marcell. One of the things I love about Marcell is he took an opportunity to get a new loan program out to homebuyers. Like our job, Marcell and I, our job is to help people get into homes, finance the American dream, right? So he took a loan program and then just started creating content about it. And over the last couple of years, he's recognized as one of the top experts in this field on this program. So the next step would be to reach out to Marcell. Contact information is right here on the screen. It's also down in the description. Have a consultation. From there, you'll apply for a home loan and then let him take it from there. Get you some options, some pricing, some budgeting information. But in closing, man, let's talk about, we didn't talk about what's coming down the road potentially.
Oh, right. So you led with that too, right? So the big two, I would say two massive changes to the program specifically, and they actually take effect this month, right? July 28th to be exact. Are number one.
This is huge news.
I mean, should I start with that one?
That's huge.
Should I lead with this one or the last one?
Huge.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll start with. I'll start with one, and then I'll go to the other. So, number one, they are increasing the amount of income you could actually make to qualify for the program. So currently, the area median income, depending on your county, it may vary, but the program doesn't allow for you to exceed 100% of the area median income. That will change as of July 28th. It is actually going up to 120%.
That's awesome.
Of the area median income. How that works on a real world level when we do loans could be the difference between you getting a home that you want versus maybe having to settle a little bit, right? So every dollar counts.
Or move to a different community that's less desirable.
100%. So every dollar counts, especially right now, right? So that's number one. Number two, if you are under 80% of the area median income and you live in this house for 5 years, this loan will be forgiven entirely.
Can you believe that?
DK, your example, $120,000. Can you think about that?
Yeah.
Live in the house 5 years, $120K gone.
Bye-bye. You live in it for 5 years. The home goes up in value by over 125 grand, and you get your down payment completely erased.
Game changer.
Unbelievable.
Game changer.
And you got to thank the state of Washington for this. So kind of confusing. What is AMI, area median income? What is all that stuff? That's why you work with a pro. You can go to Google, and you can Google King County AMI. Sure, a lot of the stuff out there might not be accurate because it changes so often. Connect with Marcell. Trust me, this guy knows more about this program and others, but this is one that he has just taken to the next level.
It's taken over the business, honestly, DK, honestly. And it's because I think, you know, you touched on it, seeing the opportunity, but also really being mobilized in spreading the word. You know, word of mouth is a powerful thing. We've made partnerships with nonprofit organizations that have encouraged this program. We've also gone to communities that would be most impacted by this program in a positive way, and we've continued to mobilize. So I do expect it to continue to grow. And again, thank you.
Well, and they are tougher to process, and so there's a lot of hand holding, a lot of work and time that goes into this. So if you're a real estate agent watching this, this is a guy you want to connect with on this program. Unbelievable resource, unbelievable advocate. If you're a home buyer. Or if you're just listening to this in general and you're like, hey, I know a buddy that definitely needs to learn more about this, reach out to Marcell, New American Funding. Appreciate you taking the time to listen to this, and I really appreciate you taking time to come in here.
As always, I appreciate it.
All right, my friend.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.